So over this past summer, my family and I started something of a tradition. It started out kind of accidentally, and then we realized we liked it, and so we just kept doing it. And it's that on Saturdays, usually between 8 and 9 in the morning, we will get in the truck, my wife and my 3 kids and I, and we'll kind of just start driving. And we don't really have a plan. We don't know where we're going to end up. We sort of just pick a direction, like north, south, east, west, or we pick a state that borders Massachusetts because it's pretty easy to get into other states from Massachusetts, or we pick a highway, just, 495 south, 495 north, 90 west, and we just start driving, and we end up wherever we end up. Oftentimes we'll end up going on small little hikes or taking some pictures at a state forest, or maybe a little outlook where you can pull over. We take a lot of back roads, we take scenic routes, whatever we come up to. We'll pull off and get lunch at some point, usually grab the kids like Happy Meals or something like that, and we just make a day out of it. We don't really schedule anything or plan anything. We don't know when we're going to turn around and head home. We try to go as long as we can before the kids start to lose their minds from being in the car so much, but we try to encourage them to put their tablets down for a few minutes and look out the window, because we're not really going anywhere. Like, we're not going to a place to get out and enjoy the place, although sometimes we end up doing that. We're really just going for a drive. We're just out in the countryside, just driving around. And the nice thing is, where we live, there are a lot of beautiful places to go and visit within an hour or two driving. And I'm sure it's like that in most places in the country, even if you live in a big city. If you get half an hour outside of the city, you're probably in a pretty nice area. And if you go another half an hour beyond that, you can probably get to a pretty wooded area if you really wanted to, or, desert area, or whatever there is where you live, And so we did it again today. We actually, to get back to how it started, we started it by accident entirely. There was one day where my wife was somewhere, I forget why. My wife was somewhere with my son and my daughter, my older son and my daughter, who are 6 and 2. I think she was at a birthday party in New York, so she had to drive down with them to New York. And so I had my son, my younger son, who is not even a year old. He was probably 6 or 7 months old at the time. And so I had him for the day, and I didn't really know what to do with him because I didn't just want to sit around the house and, feed him and watch him play and feed him and watch him play and do nothing else for the day. And so I threw him in the back of my car with the car seat, and I figured, let's just go for a drive. And this is something that I used to do all the time when I was a teenager. This was one of the things I loved about getting my license, is I would just get into my car whenever I had time, and I would fill up the tank, and I would just drive aimlessly as far as I could before I started to feel uncomfortable or tired. And then I'd turn around and I'd head back towards home. And because I did this as like a hobby very often, multiple times a week usually, it was like my pastime when I was a teenager in high school, I got really good at just navigating by kind of paying attention to what direction you're going and road signs and learning different routes and, interstate routes and state highways, things like that. And so it just became a pastime of mine. And so when I'm bored and I have the kids with me, or I don't know what to do on a weekend, oftentimes I'll sort of default back to that hobby of mine, that interest of just going on a drive. And so I had my son that day. My wife and my older son and my daughter were away, and I had my younger son. And so we just went for a drive, and we actually ended up at the beach up in New Hampshire, I think. It wasn't even a warm day. It was probably like 60 or 70 degrees. And we just went and sat on the beach, and I gave him like a bottle, or we had a snack or something like that. And I took some cute pictures, and then we drove to my mom's house, I think, because that's kind of halfway between where we were and our house. And so we stopped at my mom's house on the way home and had a visit with her, and that was nice. And then we went home. It probably killed 3 hours-ish, something like that, just driving around. He napped in the car. It was nice. And so I did it that weekend, and it was just kind of a one-off thing. But then a few weeks after that, it was kind of the inverse, actually. My youngest son, who at the time was probably 7, 8 months old, he had an issue where he actually contracted a virus and ended up in the emergency room for a couple of days. Nothing serious. He was fine. But my wife was in the hospital with him. And so I had my older son and my daughter. And so I was like, all right, well, it was a Saturday. Let's do the same thing. So I threw the 2 of them in the car, and I drove them up to the beach. And I said, we'll go to where I went with my youngest son. They kind of wanted to do the same thing I did with him. And so we started heading towards the beach, and then randomly I said, do you guys want to go to the beach, or do you want to go to the mountains? Because I was heading up towards the beaches in southern New Hampshire along the coast, and you can just as easily kind of fork the other direction and head toward the White Mountains and get there, in another hour longer than it would have taken to get to the beach. And they were both super into that idea. And so we drove up to the White Mountains, and we ended up like hiking one of the trails up in the White Mountains in like the Lincoln, Franconia Notch area. And that was a bit hectic because I hadn't planned planned on a hike at all. So I've got two kids that are, old enough to run, but not old enough to not kill themselves running through a forested trail with like waterfalls and bridge crossings and things like that. But they had a great day. I had a frustrating day, but they had a great day. I think it made some nice memories for them. And we were out of the house for a good 6+ hours. I mean, it's like a 2.5 hour drive to get up there and a 2.5 hour drive to get home. And we stopped a handful of times to take pictures and walk around and stuff like that. And so that was a really nice day. And I told my wife about it. And a couple weeks after that, we tried it again. I think we ended up in Vermont. Another time we ended up at the beaches again. It was actually a warm day. So my son ended up going in the ocean, even though even during the hottest days of summer, the oceans around here are not very warm, but my son loves it. We bought him a boogie board. We walked around. We got some saltwater taffy. I bought like a hat. It was nice. And so one day we ended up in Maine. Another day we just started driving west and we ended up almost reaching like upstate New York, different parts of New Hampshire, all different kinds of places. And so we just do this on Saturdays now. It still makes my wife kind of nervous because it's not like anything she ever did growing up, and it's not her idea of like a fun way to spend your time driving. Not that she doesn't find it to be fun. I think she is a little worried that somehow we're going to end up in a place where we're stranded in a way, like we don't know what to do or we can't take care of ourselves, but she's aware that that's not realistic. It's just kind of subconscious worry that she has that she can't get rid of. But I'm totally okay with it because I know like the car's got a full tank of gas. We have our wallets on us. So if we needed to stop and get food, or hell, even if we broke down and needed to call a tow truck and spend the night in a hotel, like we're not in the middle of the Gobi Desert. Like we're not stranded anywhere. At most, we're a phone call away from help. So it's not anything like that. It's just we're out having a drive, and it doesn't matter if we don't know where we are or know what road we're on or what town we're in. We're just cruising through the woods, taking little 25-mile-an-hour back roads, winding up and down hills and through forests and in state parks and things like that. And the kids are, face deep in their tablets a lot of times, but we try to snap them out of it and say like, hey, look at those mountains, look at this trail, let's get out and take a picture, look at that lake over there, check out this bridge. And they like it. It's fun. They'll, early on, they'll try to sort of cut the trip short. They'll say, oh, I'm not feeling good, or I'm bored, can we go home? And at first, I would think they were being serious. And then I kind of learned after we did it a few times, like, no, they're just kind of pushing back against this idea of being out of the house and going and doing a thing. Not that they're, the kind of kids who want to sit indoors all the time. They love playing outside and in the yard and in the field and stuff like that. It's just, they don't immediately grasp the value of like going on a nice road trip and kind of exploring the country around us. And then after an hour, they kind of get into it and they realize, oh, we're seeing places we've never seen before. And where does that road go? And can we go this way? And can we stop at that place? And we do. And it's a lot of fun. And every now and then we'll pass something that we don't have time, like maybe we're on our way home and we pass something that looks really awesome. And so my wife will flag it in Google Maps. And then the next time we're out, we'll go back to that spot and we'll hit it. We haven't gone out nearly enough times to have run out of places to go to. Because I mean, honestly, just like pick a route and take that route. Like today we were on, I can't even remember, 53 or something in like north central Connecticut that we got to by taking back roads, Route 12 underneath Worcester, all the way west and then south and then west again. And I just kept picking roads. As long as we're heading away from home, I just keep, switching random roads or pick one road and go straight for a while if it seems to be heading in a good direction. And we saw some really nice stuff. We ended up at a state forest or a state park called something Hallows, Bigelow Hollow, something like that. Beautiful frozen lake that we stopped and took a picture at, did some walking around. Couldn't do much because we have the baby with us who's only like, 11 months old. But, it was nice. And then we hopped back in the car. We got to drive through the state park, bumpy, unpaved road through the woods. And we popped out and took a bunch of back roads through Connecticut back to Massachusetts, and then hopped on the highway on 84 and drove home until we hit 90, took that to 290 through Worcester, and then we were home. So we were out from, 9 in the morning until, granted we stopped and got a Christmas tree on the way home from my lodge, but we were probably, doing our day trip thing from 9 in the morning until about 3:30. So that's pretty solid. It was a fun way to spend the day. It didn't cost a ton of money. We stopped at one point at a gas station and grabbed like some snacks, like some bags of chips or some gummy bears for the kids. My wife and I got a Red Bull. And then on the way home, because we had completely missed lunch and were heading towards dinner, we stopped and got them Happy Meals, and they were super excited about that. So not an expensive way to spend the day out with the family. Outdoors, exploring new areas, kind of going on an adventure is what I use to explain it to them. That's sort of the term that I label it with, is we're going on an adventure. So if I just say we're going on a drive, they'll say to where? And that's not the point, right? They just don't get that really at this age. So if I say we're going on an adventure, we're going exploring, we're going to go see a place we've never seen before, we're going to go try to get lost and then find our way home. Although that one freaks my daughter out a little bit. But it's a really fun tradition that we've kind of picked up for Saturday mornings. We load everything into the car and we just leave. We don't pack a bunch of stuff. We don't plan a bunch of stuff. We just go. And it's always worked out. It's always a lot of fun. So something to try. If you have kids, if you have a family that you want to do something with, you kind of want to make some memories in a free, fun-loving, easy kind of way that doesn't, well, not free, not entirely free, but a cheap way. It's a good option. Give it a try if you haven't. It's fun, especially if you like driving. I like driving. But anyways, just wanted to share that with you. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.